Arigato. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks to Bass Magazine Japan. Thanks to everyone here who came out. I'm excited to answer some questions, play some bass, show a little bit of what I do.
早速ちょっといくつか質問させていただきたいと思うんですけども、フジロックのステージ本当に素晴らしかったです。僕も会場で見ていましたけど、ものすごい盛り上がりで、ベースラインでシンガロングも起こったりしてました。そしてジョーがモニターに映るとすごく歓声が上がってたのも印象的ですけども、まず率直にちょっとフジロックのステージどうでしたかというところからお聞きしたいです。
Oh, it was like a dream come true for us. You know, Wolfpack has been looking forward to playing in Japan for more than 10 years now, and I grew up hearing about Fuji Rock, you know, and seeing the videos on YouTube and seeing the lineups, and you know, for us it was like you know, just kind of the warmest welcome imaginable. So incredible to look out and see a huge crowd of people. And of course, for us, you know, for example, when we hear people, you know, singing along, it was like, I don't know, it was like being home somehow. And, you know, as a bass player, there's nothing quite like hearing a crowd sing a bass line back to you. So, you know, when we went off stage and then we heard the crowd singing Dean Town, it was surreal for us. So, incredibly warm welcome, amazing experience.
ブルースペックとして初のねライブ、日本でのライブでしたけども、セットリストはアニマルスピリッツで始まって、こう日本のファンがずっと心待ちにしてたような聴きたかった曲をたくさん立て続けにやってくださって、そして最新アルバムクラリティオブカルの楽曲もすごく盛り上がってて、大合唱が起きたり、最高のセットリストだったと思いますけども、そのセットリストについて聞いてみてもいいですか？ジョーとして演奏してどうでしたかっていうのを教えてください。
Yeah, well, we tried to really strike a balance between the older music and the newer music, because we knew that there are Japanese fans who have been following us since the beginning. So, of course, you know, we wanted to play some of those early songs from the first record, second record. But we're still sort of out here on the Clarity of Cal tour. It's actually only the second show where we've played new music from that album after the recording session shows. So we played Red Rocks, and that was only the first time we had played these new songs outside the recording. And then we wanted to play a lot of them here, and of course it was very surreal to see how people knew these songs and kind of seemed to have already really like internalized these songs. And we had most of the members who were recording on the album, except for Charles Jones, who's an incredible organ player who couldn't come with us to Japan, but he adds a lot to that record. But of course, then we had Woody and Joey covering the piano parts. So, well, for me, you know, a highlight was hearing Theo sing Tender Defender. That was beautiful. And of course, getting to play New Beastly, which really features the cowbell, but with a side of bass. It was very fun.
ベースクリニックなのでちょっと早速ベースのお話も聞いていきたいと思うんですけども、今回のフジロックもそうですし、普段ライブの前にいつもこうベーシストとしてやっているルーティーンとか、どうやってライブの準備をしているか教えてください。はい。
Well, for me, I used to just step on stage and I wouldn't warm up before the gig because my bass would already be on the stage and I'd be backstage, you know, getting dressed, talking to the band. But the problem was I would find that really the first song or two songs would end up just being my fingers still warming up. So now I try to play backstage for maybe 5 or 10 minutes beforehand. And I don't do anything specific. I usually just play through a few of the songs that we're going to play just alone on bass. And I just kind of get my fingers warmed up and I practice if there's something that I think I'm going to forget. But it really does help me because at Red Rocks, we had Jack Stratton had the unorthodox idea of starting the show with Deantown instead of ending the show with Deantown. And so there it was like, 16th notes driving straight up top at the beginning, and my fingers were up in the mountains at elevation, and I'm like, oh, geez, okay. So now I like to warm up a bit, but no matter what, you come out and the first song or two, you're kind of still getting in the zone. And then after that, it's just hopefully mentally and physically just in the zone.
ありがとうございます。フジロックのステージ今日も持ってきてくださってますけど、ジョーさんのシグネチャーベースですね。アーニー・ボール、ミュージックマンからもう出てますが、フジロックおよび今日持ってきてくださったのは、たった$499ですよね。スターリンのベースでプレイして、されてて、日本のソーシャルメディアでもちょっとそれに驚きの声が上がったりとかもしていたんですけど、会場で聴いてても素晴らしいサウンドだったんですけども、このベースの気に入ってる点について改めてお聞かせください。で、ステージでもエフェクターも通してないですし、アンプマークベースのアンプとの、セッティングだと思うんですけど、ちょっと音作りのポイントとか、このベースの気に入ってる点を教えてください。
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of the bass players that I really admire are, in the 1970s, not a lot of effects playing, but a lot of, the finger sound really comes through. This really, kind of gritty, mid-range growl, and it really cuts through the mix. It's very like aggressive kind of bass sound, I think of Bernard Edwards with Chic. I think of Rocco Prestia with Tower of Power, Verdine White with Earth, Wind and Fire. And, they were playing a lot of times a Music Man bass or a Fender Jazz bass and just direct, maybe with a tube amp. But I really like Mark bass because it's very warm, it's very transparent. And so it just sounds like the instrument, but a little bit warmer, a nice punchy, nice bottom, but not noisy, not distorted. And the Sterling by Music Man bass, which I have here, it has a really nice balance to it. The way they built it, it just sits very well. It's got a nice weight to it. It's got a very smooth neck and really nice fretboard. The strings on it are flat wounds, but I've started to use them for more than a year, and so they have more age, and so that makes them warmer, not as bright, not as harsh. And so the more gigs I play with it, the better it sounds, and the more gigs I then want to play with it. So it becomes, part of my fingers. I get really comfortable with it. So I really do love this bass. And I'm thrilled that it turned out so well, and it's an affordable bass. Of course, I still love the Music Man Stingray, Joe Dart Music Man, but for me right now, this is the season of the more affordable Sterling by Music Man.
はい。エフェクターとかではなくて、指のっていうところですけどね。じゃあそんなジョーさんみたいに皆さんもベースが弾けるようになりたいということで本日お越しいただいていると思いますけど、早速ちょっとジョーにもベースを弾いていってもらいたいなと思うんですけど、今日は、実際にブルフペックとか、フィアレスフライズ、彼がベースを弾いている曲を題材にして、プレイと解説をしてくれるそうなので、ちょっとそのセクションに行きたいと思います。じゃあ1曲目、どんな曲から？
Sure. I want to start with an early Wolfpack song called My First Car. And this particular song is a demonstration of a sort of muted percussive bass playing style. So I'll play a little bit of it, and then I'll kind of show you what I'm doing, and then we can start to take some questions, and maybe the questions will pertain to this song. So I'm actually just going to play it on bass, I think, instead of the recording. So The bass line is like this. So thank you. So that one, what I'm thinking about there is I'm thinking about creating the rhythm with my fingers, but I'm playing ghost notes when I'm not playing a real fretted note. So, you know, the essence of the bass line locks in with the drummer on their kick drum. So it's just like, etc. Then what I'm adding in is I'll add in a little bit of octave work. So when I'm playing bass, I'm always keeping my hand in the octave position. And this way I can always add in the octave for a little color or a little embellishment. So there's the octave. Then what I add in is the ghost notes. So here I'm playing with my right hand eighth notes or 16th notes, but I'm not pressing down all the way on the string. I'm just resting my finger on the string like this. Etc. That's all ghost notes where I don't press down. So then you add in the whole thing. Etc. The only other thing there is just a little bit of that tremolo vibrato thing, which is kind of like a Verdine White Earth, Wind, and Fire thing. So this is the essence of that bass line. So this is one of those kind of techniques that I use in a lot of the Vulfpeck music. And I sometimes think this is something I've spoken about in other interviews. There's a quote by a great musician, philosopher by the name of Theo Katzman, and he says that playing bass is playing the drums on a guitar. So you have your fretboard, you have your strings, but you need to approach it as if you're a drummer. And that's how important having good time is and having good groove. Then you can have these things that a drummer does, like the ghost notes on the snare drum. And that's that's what I use a lot of the time. In a little while, I'll play another song. My next song has also this ghost notes in it. But this is really a lot of what I do is I try to think like a drummer. So, a lot of the time I'll have the backbeat on. So it's like, that's the groove, but then I'll add then you have the backbeat and then you can add in other stuff. And I always try to really keep things in really good time. So I tell bass players when they ask me how do I improve or how do I think about, playing playing catchy bass lines or make it feel good when I play. It's about having that really good groove. And when you play, never losing that groove. So even though I might be playing a lot of ghost notes, what I really practice is I practice landing on each note in a very syncopated way such that I'm not dragging or rushing. So having really good time is maybe the most important thing. And then practicing so that you have clean notes. There I think about, okay, where am I putting my fretting finger? Right by the fret. And how am I muting these other strings so that I don't get any extra noise? Because if you don't mute them, it's you get a little bit of the extra string noise. And so I really try to clean everything by being precise when I practice. And often I'll listen back to recordings and I can listen and be like, could have been cleaner. I want to practice and listen back and make sure it's really clean and really good time. Thank you. Did we have a question?
そうですね。ちょっとじゃあ、今回ですね、応募、皆さんたくさんの応募いただいたんですけども、で、ジョーさんへの質問もいろいろその際にいただいていて、そこでもうちょっといくつか見かけた質問でちょっと今と話と関わるなと思ったものが、そのバックビートとか、ドラムとの関係を捉えるみたいな話でですね、今私もちょっと見てて思ったんですけど、ジョーさんやっぱこの首をすごい動かしてリズムを感じたりするのが一つ特徴だなと思って、そこ結構気になってる、読者の方も多いんだなと思ってるんですけども、グルーブを動かす時の首の動かし方は何かイメージされてますか？ドラムのバスドラムとの位置関係を測ってたりしますかっていうような質問をいただいてたので、ちょっとそれを聞いてみたいなと思います。
Well, for me, it's impossible to groove while staying still. So it's a very physical, connection between what you're playing and what you're feeling. And so for me, it's very involuntary. I'm not thinking, but you have to keep time somehow. So some people are tapping their toe. Some people are moving, their hips or their shoulders or their head. But, just like I said before, like being a drummer, if you watch a drummer, it's a very physical thing. You can't stay still and play the drums. And so I can't stay still and play the bass. You also have to be playing in such a way that makes people feel the groove. So as a bass player, I would say you are responsible for the groove as much as the drummer is, maybe more. And so you really control how the song feels. And so if you want people listening to be feeling the groove, you have to feel it, of course, yourself. So that's really where it comes from. And it's also from staying right on top of the beat. So it's like when I'm playing, I really want to be right there where the drummer is hitting the snare drum. I want to be right there. I don't want to be at all behind. I don't want to be in front, but I want to be just sort of precisely on the beat where the drummer is. And then you can start to play with it a little bit, and you can, play behind the beat a little bit if you want to. There are songs where I will do a solo and maybe I'll play behind the beat just to create a little bit more tension. But for the most part, there's a physical element for me. Maybe someone else can stay still and groove, but I can't.
ありがとうございます。はい。じゃあちょっと2曲目の方いきたいと思います。
This next song, the name of the song came from actually one of my bass heroes named Bootsy Collins. And Bootsy somehow heard about Wolfpack, and he tweeted out or on Facebook he posted a clip from Wolfpack, and of course for me it was the most surreal moment of my life. And he said Joe Dart lost his treble long ago, which is true. I did, and so we titled this one that. But it was just this is a groove that came from a solo that I played at some point, and Jack Stratton, he was listening to a clip from a concert, and he heard me play this kind of like a run on the bass. Well, the riff anyway is. So that's a classic, like funk kind of, Parliament Funkadelic type of lick, and I would play that during solos, or and there I'm just doing if we're in, say we're in D, and then I'm just doing the minor third up to the major third, and that's just like a classic, just kind of a classic, Jack. We also you'll also hear it. There's that kind of thing again. It's all over funk bass playing. But then what we add in next is something that I will also kind of do, which is it's a run going down the blues scale. Just and then I'll do it, but I'll mute the strings. So kind of like in the other, in my first car where I was going like all those muted things. So instead of going, and I'll do it fast, I would mute like that. So, and then I add in a little slide. So then put those two things together, and you have the riff from the solo, and then you have the run muted. So. There's another classic, just like classic riff you'll hear all over. And then take it up a whole step. etc. So maybe we have a question?
じゃあ質問ということで
そうですね。ちょっとジョーもぜひ日本のファンの方々と交流したいということも言ってくれてたので、ぜひ会場から質問募集してみようかなと思うんですが、何か聞いてみたいことありますか？はい。じゃあ一番最初に手が挙がった方にマイクをちょっとお渡しします。
Thank you for coming this event today, and I'm very happy to meet you. いいですか？日本語でもいいですか？ベースライン、いろいろブルーペックとかブルーペック以外の曲でもあると思うんですけど、一番ジョーにとってお気に入りの、ベースライン、ブルーペックの曲とブルーペックの曲以外でそれぞれ聞けたら嬉しいなと思います。
Yeah, thank you for your question and thank you for being here. Okay, yeah, for me, well, in Wolfpack, one fun one that we play sometimes. Yes, okay. Disco Ulysses is a very fun one for me to play. And I love that. That to me is, it's very chic kind of Bernard Edwards thing. And coming back to that octave thing, you're keeping your, everything you're playing, every note you're playing, you're keeping your hand in this octave all the time. And then you're just adding in, you're just like, you're adding in these 16th notes. So instead of, often I would practice instead of, I'd start with just, and if you can get to the point where you can somewhat cleanly play that in time, then you start to get that Disco Ulysses type of thing. And it makes me think of a lot of Jamiroquai songs. They have a lot of that octave. They have a lot of that octave stuff. And so that's a really fun one for me to play from Wolfpack. In terms of favorite bass lines outside of that, I would play a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers stuff growing up. So I always think of Californication, that album. When I started playing bass, that was around the time that album came out, around 1999-ish. So, it's I just thought that was like the most, that was just the meanest way you could start an album. And then I was It's just like, to me, Flea, it remains, one of the deepest, funkiest bass players for me, because that was just when I was learning to play. He was the most visible for me, the most someone I could emulate when I played. So probably a Chili Peppers bass line would be one that I would think of. So thank you for the question.
今回のフジロックのニュービーストリーでもレッドホットチリペッパーズちょっとオマージュしてましたよねって思いました。
Yeah, I do like to sort of add in a quote occasionally, because I remember watching the Red Hot Chili Peppers live videos, and I would see Flea quoting Parliament Funkadelic or Sly and the Family Stone. So it's a little bit like a full circle thing for me. So yeah, these are a lot of the bass players. I mean, I have these memories of just learning these bass lines from, it might have been Flea, or it might have been, Larry Graham, or, Stevie Wonder, on his keys bass, or James Jamerson, or any of my bass heroes. You learn their bass lines, and then the parts they play start to just become muscle memory for you. So then sometimes you're just playing, and it sort of comes out, and you sort of find yourself coming back to these little bass this bass vocabulary. And certainly Flea was studying a lot of funk bass from the 60s and 70s, so it all kind of comes back to that. Thank you. Maybe another question?
ですね、もう意外と時間半分経っちゃってるんで、ちょっとあれですね、曲の用意してくれてる曲あると思うんで、それ戻りましょうか。
Okay, we're running out of time, so maybe the next song.
Okay.
Sorry.
So I want to play a couple more tunes. One tune that I would reference one of my influences, Rocco Prestia from Tower of Power. He really he really has this 16th note, driving. So that kind of stuff. And it's really, the ghost notes, but the 16th notes and the octaves are really, precise, really on top of the beat. So an early Wolfpack song, It Gets Funkier, is very much in that type of style of bass playing. So that's like a... That's the essence of that one. So yeah, this one's about keeping that that basic groove, you know. And then that's a lot of just that kind of like walking stuff, and a lot of like octave stuff is very much in that Tower of Power, the what is hip kind of like you know, boom, and you're just kind of like, it's the same basic groove that the drummer's playing, and you're just matching that on bass. Boom, you know, and that's really what you're doing. And then in the B section, you're really, I'm really letting the notes ring out, and that way it adds a nice contrast to it. You know, the A section, you've got this real driving thing, and again, hand in the octave position, using the octave as the counterpoint, as like the snare drum almost, and then muting the strings. And again, this is a lot of practicing with a drummer or with a metronome, and just trying to get that. And what you're doing is you're accenting. So instead of just playing, you know, with everything exactly the same, you're accenting. So you're like, you kind of accenting the beginning every time. Then you get to the B section, you've got the longer stuff, maybe adding a little bit of vibrato to it. So it's still long, but you're adding a little bit of riffing there, you know, and that's just like a lot of sliding stuff, and a lot of you know, I guess that sliding up and down, or, and that's all just, again, learning riffs from bass players, but also from guitar players, and also from horn players, and also from synth keyboard bass, you know, Stevie Wonder's keyboard bass. You get a lot of that you know, Boogie on Reggae Woman, you get that that's all that sliding stuff. So I'm using a lot of that sliding on the B section. And then the A section is about the real rhythmic driving octave work. So I've had a chance now to play some Vulfpeck songs, but of course I also am fortunate enough to play in a handful of other bands. So you know, the cool thing for me is, as a bass player, the most exciting thing is getting to play with other great musicians, because of course bass is a supportive instrument, and you know, you play in an ensemble as a bass player. You don't just play alone. So playing with a great drummer is really the best feeling that I ever have when I'm playing music. It's locking in with a great drummer. I've been very lucky to play with some legendary drummers. Vulfpeck has been able to bring into the studio some of the legends of recorded music. You know, we had James Gadson, Bernard Purdie, we've gotten to play with some of the, modern funk drummers, Adam Deitch, Lewis Cole. I got to play with Clyde Stubblefield from James Brown's band before he passed away. For me, these are sort of surreal moments where I'm, in a time machine. I get to go back and imagine what it was like to play in the 60s or 70s. So playing with great musicians is the joy of being a bass player. And I get to play in a band with a few incredible musicians. I mean, Wolfpack, everyone I play with in Wolfpack is constantly astonishing me with their musicianship. But one of the other bands I play in, the Fearless Flyers, I get to play with Nate Smith on drums, who I think is maybe the greatest living drummer right now who's out there playing. I mean, he's unbelievable. And of course, I get to play with a couple of incredible guitarists too. Snarky Puppy's Mark Lettieri, who I think is this incredible combination of shredding and funky rhythmic playing and everything in between. And of course, Wolfpack's Corey Wong, who is, takes rhythmic guitar playing to kind of the highest level of just, really, really talk about being a drummer on guitar. I mean, that's really, that's really highly rhythmic playing. And for me as a bass player, getting to play with guitarists who have great time and great melody and great feel, and a drummer who plays very lyrically, is really amazing. So I also wanted to play a little bit from the Fearless Flyers, and I wonder if I'm lucky enough to have a little accompaniment here. Is there anyone in here who knows any of the Fearless Flyers songs? Okay, there might be a guy who there might be a guy. Yeah. Yeah. So I thought I would bring up Corey Wong to play a little bit with me because he just happens to be in Japan right now. And I don't think that's a Corey Wong signature, but that's okay. Yeah, Corey can come up on stage with me if you would.
It's a bass clinic. Yeah, I know.
So
is this our way of practicing before the?
Yeah, we have a couple of gigs coming up with the Fearless Flyers, so we thought we would play a couple of those tunes for you, and maybe I can answer a few questions about it. But in the meantime, you can hear how I link in with Corey, and it'll be fun. Our first.
I think so.
Let's check. All right, so I thought we would play a couple of Fearless Flyers tunes, and one of them that we need to practice is from our latest record, and this one is called Blue Angels. And
not from our newest record.
Okay, thank you. This one happens to be from the last record that we recorded live on stage in front of an audience, because after that we did go back into the studio. So I stand corrected. But anyway, this one we played at the Blue Note in New York City, and it's kind of got this bass melody up front that kind of starts off the tune, and then it gets into this kind of guitar melody where the bass underneath it is kind of just holding down the bass line. So the bass line that's just getting held down, just kind of a rhythmic thing, you know. So here's the the top of the tune. Here's the bass line. Oh, sorry. 2, 3, 4. All right, so yeah, that one we kind of that B section has got sort of a Black Eyed Peas kind of thing to it, and that one, that's just kind of a fun moment to do a unison line where me, Corey, and Mark all have to try to play the same thing for like yeah. And for like a long time too, like kind of too long, and but so we had to practice that one for a while in the studio to get down, and then we recorded it live on stage. And kind of like here, you have this energy having a crowd in the room, and so it levels up everything you do. So that one, Corey's doing a lot of rhythmic stuff. Mark is taking the lead on that one. And, like I said, the bass line is pretty basic, locking in with the kick drum. But then I add in a little bit of like... And those are just fills, but I try to keep the fills really rhythmically tight, because otherwise you stand out a little too much, you take away from what else is happening. So I think of it almost like a drummer might think of like a little bit of a hi-hat, just a little thing like that, or a little ghost note on the snare, but not a big eye-catching thing, So that's kind of how we think about that. Should we do another tune, or should we take a question?
そうですね。じゃあぜひもう一曲二人で何かお願いできますか？
tune for them?
Lovely. So we'd love to take one more Fearless Flyers tune. So I thought we would do another kind of rhythmic. Well, it's all pretty rhythmic, to be honest. But Corey, I have a question for you, which is how do you think about your role in the band as a guitarist? Because in this case, you have two guitarists in the band, and I think of you as a rhythm guitarist, but maybe in your own words, how do you kind of think about that?
Yeah, the reality is I don't necessarily think about a band with two guitars any differently than I would think about a band with a guitar and a keyboard. Again, it's just about what role are we functioning as? What is each person serving? What role are they doing? So with Mark, he and I just split up certain times when it's like, you do the focal thing here. This sort of lead line is here. I'm going to take a lead line on this. But since we both play quite rhythmically, we have to actually be pretty arranged in what we do. So with the Fearless Flyers, a lot of it is guitar arranging, because even though we're kind of playing riffs, they need to figure out where they're filling in holes and where they're leaving gaps. And if you listen to the music closely and how Mark and I work together, as the band has progressed and evolved, we've gotten better at it. But it's just much more arranged within the groove, but still making it feel alive and leaving room for some extra things here and there. But yeah, my role goes back and forth between playing rhythm and kind of like lead rhythm parts.
So I thought I'd play one where we kind of end up passing around to each of the instruments. We each kind of get a solo. It's a bit of a solo moment to step out, although maybe the solo is even just rhythmic. So I thought we'd play Ace of Aces, and maybe Corey, you can take Mark's section 2 or something, you know. But let's try grooving on that one.
I normally play this on baritone.
Okay.
So we're in E.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay. 2, 3, 4.
Versatile. This guy's versatile.
最高ですね。ありがとうございます。どうしましょう。じゃあちょっと時間もね結構迫っているので、もう一曲最後ですかね。次が。
Of course. So, you know, again, with just to wrap up that last one, the thing is, with each of us, you know, we're very. I think everyone in that band plays a very rhythmic role, because a lot of the music is just really syncopated. You know, but everyone finds their place within it. So that's, you know, that's, to me, when I play with great musicians, play with a great drummer like Nate Smith, he can do it all. So he could play the busiest, he could give you all the rhythmic information, but then it doesn't leave room for the bass and the two guitars. So what Nate does a lot of the time is he subtracts, and there's 16th notes he could play, but he doesn't play. There's snare ghost notes that he could play, but he doesn't play, and he chooses his moments. And the same is true for each of us. I mean, Corey can play rhythmic information on the guitar such that you barely need a drummer, but you pick your moments. So that tune is all about fitting, and really that's what the Fearless Flyers is all about, like Corey was saying, is just fitting in. Okay, you can fit here, you can fit here, you can fit here. And we have the bass, the baritone guitar, the drums sitting underneath. So yeah, that's kind of what that band is about. And I want to bring it back for the last tune to Wolfpack. And, you know, the Wolfpack as a band is, again, Jack Stratton sort of shines the spotlight on various members of the band. Periodically, he'll feature, you know, Theo singing from behind the drum kit. He'll feature the organ on a lot of the new music. You know, the organ plays a huge role. He'll feature, you know, a singer where the Wolfpack becomes a backing band for a singer. And of course, Jack being a big fan of the bass, he'll feature the bass. So while, you know, I didn't set out to play lead bass, I set out to be a rhythm section bass player. But Jack is the type of guy who will elevate everyone at various times. And so there are times when the bass takes the lead. So, of course, coming out and soloing, you know, you're just, I approach soloing the same way I approach playing with an ensemble, which is that it has to feel good, it has to be catchy, it can't be too complicated, and it has to just maintain the groove, because that's the role of the bass. So when I'm thinking about soloing, I'm thinking about maintaining groove and finding hooks. So, like, does it catch the ear? You know, so that's how I think about solo sections. And then, of course, there's the opportunity for the bass to be its own lead instrument and play the role of the hook. So there are Wolfpack songs where the bass line, kind of like when we were playing Lost My Treble long ago, it's a bass lead role that originally plays the hook and catches your ear. So that's, you know, that's quite a, you know, it's kind of quite a lot of pressure as a bass player. But if you practice a lot playing with a rhythm section, then you can do that at the front of the stage too. You don't have to do anything differently. You can just still play the same role, but maybe the rest of the band has just stopped playing, or they're playing underneath you. So that's, you know, that's kind of how I think about bass as a lead instrument. And then, of course, getting to a point where you're playing a melody that somehow captures the collective imagination such that you get off stage and you find the crowd is still singing the bass line you were playing. That's kind of taking it to its highest level. So that's what I got to do at Fuji Rock, which was an unbelievable experience. So I thought we would do a little bit of that here. So this one will start with some 16th notes out front, and it's a good little way to practice my stamina and keep my time going, maybe warm up.
Funny to hear it just to see Mark say, so proud of it.
Thank you.
じゃあ最後1個質問会場から受け付けましょうかね。
Okay, so we have a little bit of more time, so maybe one question. ジャック、ジョーに選んで。
ジョーちょっと選んでもらえますか。
Joe, can you choose a lucky one?
Sure, sure. I'm going to choose front and center here just because you're the first guy I looked at. Yeah.
今日は本当ありがとうございます。有意義な時間とても楽しいです。ジョーさんのサウンドはすごくタイトでクリアな音が特徴だと思うんですけども、右手のピッキングをするときに、意識していることとかポイントとかあったら教えてください。
Yeah, thank you for the question. The thing I worked on a lot when I was young is I had a little bit of strength training because the bass I had very high action. To this day, I keep my action pretty high, but the first bass I had really high action. So you have to really learn to dig in and play hard, but also try to, if you're playing hard, but you can also keep it clean and you can keep the tempo without getting tired because of how much you're struggling against the string. So stamina comes from just putting in hours on the instrument, but you have to do it with good time. So you have to do it with a metronome or a drum machine. And then, for me, it's about alternating these fingers and moving and being able to move around the fretboard while still alternating them. So doing that, being able to and just getting, being able to keep it really even. And once you can keep it really even, then you can start accenting, so on Teen Town, it's not just, it's not really just, it's more like, so practicing being able to play dynamically so that you can dial in such that your fingers are able to turn up or turn down the volume of it. Ultimately, it's about putting in the time. Just like with Corey, I imagine the rhythmic stuff just comes from putting in hours and hours and hours on it. But each person finds their own way to play the instrument. So it doesn't have to be always two fingers. Could be one, could be three. And you find your own thing that's comfortable for you. But for me personally, it's about, evenness and clean playing comes from your fretting hand as well as your fingers. So for me, the clean playing comes from, yes, of course, striking the right string and not hitting, other strings to make it noisy, but also muting the other strings with your fretting fingers, This whole while I'm keeping all my other fingers resting on the other strings. And that way, when I'm playing them, all I have to do is I have to just fret with whatever string I want to play, and I can keep the other strings muted, Any string that I'm not playing there, I'm muting with this hand. So the combination of having strength and stamina from putting in hours with your fingers that you're plucking the string with, and having good, comfortable left hand technique, muting. That way you play clean with good time, and that's the combination that I think is part of at least my sound if I think about what my sound would be.
はい、ありがとうございます。素晴らしい質問もありがとうございました。 ではですね、ちょっと本当に名残惜しいんですけど、もう90分経ってしまってそろそろ終わりの時間になってまいりました。会場に30人の、オーディエンスの方集まっていただいたのと、YouTube で1300人以上の方、今、同時中継で見ていただいてます。最後、ジョーさんにちょっと本日の感想と日本のファンへのメッセージお聞きして終わりたいと思います。
I want to thank everyone who came out here. It's been such a warm welcome from the Japanese Wolf community, from the Japanese bass community, from music fans here. You've made us all feel very welcome. I can't believe it's only our first time here because it's begun to feel like a second home for us being here this past week. And to Bass Magazine Japan, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for covering Wolf and everything that I do all these years. Thank you, Shutaro. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks to everyone who tuned in on YouTube. Thank you to Corey Wong for coming up here and accompanying me. We are so very honored to be in Japan, and we hope to come back many, many times. This is a passionate community. Thanks for all the questions. I hope to answer more in the future. I'll be back there to say hi and chat a little bit. So yeah, I think that just about. I want to play like one more second of music. Let's play just. There's a tune that bears your name actually, Corey. Oh, yeah. Why don't we play a little bit of that? Yeah, let's go. Here we go. Yeah. B section, here we go. Yeah. B section. Break it down. All right, Corey. Another one. Thank you all. Arigato. Yeah, bro. Thank you, dude. Thank you.
Before leaving, just a final remark on a few words. Can you say it?
Absolutely. Well, we're going to, we're going to come back with a few of our other bands to Japan. So I'm really hoping that the music that you heard today from the Fearless Flyers will be something that we can bring to Japan. And you know, for us, getting to play around the world is really like the highest honor. And getting to meet bass players everywhere I go is very mind-blowing to me, because it's like no matter where you go in the world, it's like you have these people speaking this common language of bass. I mean, it's a universal thing. Wherever I go in the world, I meet bass players, and it's like, oh, I feel like I've met you before. You know, it's like we're thinking the same way, and that's what I love. And I think the bass community in particular is a really strong. Maybe, I mean, not a competition. You know, guitar community is great, but I mean, I think the bass. Yeah.
It's so weird.
Bass players tend to be particularly cool people, and I'm so happy to see all of you in here. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to meet you, and hopefully this will be the first of many Japanese bass meetups that I get to be a part of. So thank you, Bass Magazine Japan, for putting it together, for making it happen. Thank you.